Ag and Art Tour is a free farm tour. We've had over 85,000 participants come to the tour in the last 12 years. On the weekend that the county chooses, and I think Lexington this year is, or excuse me, Richland is June 10th and 11th. Okay, I get confused on that. June 10th and 11th. During that weekend, the farms will all be open on Saturday and Sunday, specified hours. Participants will be able to come in. They'll be able to see the artisans who have signed up and been chosen for your farm. They'll have you'll have sign-in sheets. You'll have, and I think Chanda, you guys are going to talk a little more about the specifics of what's going to be on the farm. Is that correct? Yeah, someone is. That'll be good. So there'll be sign-up sheets. It'll just be a great event for participants to come in. My job as director is to get people there. Okay, I have on staff. On contract, I have a marketing company that does all the social media marketing, all the web design, all the web marketing. I've got a graphic designer that does all that. I've got someone that makes the signs. I've got all the ins and outs, the brochures, the rack cards, all that comes into play, and that's in the works right now. And that actually started back in November to get all that designed. What's really important is that we know what farms we're going to have by March 1st. Because that enables me to actually put together a nice tour guide. This tour guide is, and I've tried it without the tour guide in the past, hey, this is 2023 or 2022. People don't really need this big tour guide. They can do it on their computer or on their phone. They can do QR codes. We tried that. Too many people wanted that tour guide. They still want that. They want to see it. They want something in their hand they can actually flip through and see the farms, see where it's at. They still can go to the website with the QR code, and they can click on the farm and find out what it's there and find out an address and Google Maps, and everything's interactive, like I said. But people want that tour guide. So knowing what farms are going to be on the tour by March 1st, which I've asked all my committees and all 11 counties to do, I'll be able to put the farms in the tour guide, print that out, and I usually print out about 12 to 15,000 of those, and we'll have those statewide. So it's a great event. Again, the tour is just an incredible event for. I've done some studies on the tour in the past, looking at who is coming to the tour, what type of people are coming to the tour. It's a wide range, but typically what I first really noticed was these are a lot of seniors coming with their grandkids, saying, hey, this is what it's all about. This is where I came from. This is what you're missing out on, or this is what you need to know about right now. And then there's a lot of younger people bringing their children and saying, hey, this is where we need to be. So it really evolves around children. And you'll find that when you open up your farm to people coming on the farm, you'll see a lot of children there. You'll see a lot of people bringing their children saying, this is what this is what the new world may be like, or this is what, you need to really be aware of, or this is what it was like when I was growing up in Horry County or wherever.
Welcome everybody to Doko Farm. What I'm hoping you get out of today is that you do not have to be a large agritourism farm to host during Ag and Art Tour. As you can see, we're a small family farm. We have about 43 acres, but only 10 of those approximately are really used for our farm. A lot of it's forest and creek and conservation area, and just this 10 little bit of acres or so up top is where people are during the farm tour. So we don't have a lot of infrastructure. You'll see today we're mostly a mud farm. This is before the tour. I really recommend that you pick your strategy of what you hope to gain that day. We are, well, it depends. Our taxes probably say something different, but we are a for-profit farm. We don't always make a profit, but we try real hard. So our goal is to get people through the farm to see what we have, and by the time Joe has them through their guided farm tour and they arrive at the barnyard where all the artisans are set up and our farm stand is set up, and any visiting farms that we have are there, they know exactly what we have and why we don't compete with Walmart's prices. So they are ready to purchase from us. And I suggest you kind of think about what your goal is. If you're a school farm or maybe a not-for-profit site, You probably still have some fundraising you need to do with students selling plants or something like that. So really think and try to plan what it is that you're going to have available for people to purchase or take home from your farm on that day. Everyone who's coming out to the farms, they're excited to see your farm. They want to see what you have, and they're excited to see the artisans. And speaking to artisans after the market, everyone always has a really good time. They do well. It's usually our biggest sell day. So between Saturday and Sunday, we usually have for Ag and Art Tour between 250, I think, on our slowest year, and on our biggest year, 400 people come through our farm. It's just myself and Joe and our 2 kids. We have a 13-year-old now, so that helps a little bit more, but we really rely on volunteer help. You saw our parking situation when you came in. Our parking volunteers are our rock stars, because without them, the whole thing just falls apart before you even get started. So we usually have 4 volunteers on each day, and if we can get a 5th as a floater to rotate people out, we do that. Those people are usually people who are familiar with our farm, so they can welcome people to the farm, answer some basic questions, and get them started. A couple of other things when you're planning for your farm tour: if you don't have a Google business account, like a Google listing, go ahead and do that, because the way the Ag and Art Tour farm map is set up, your Google listing is what pops up next to it. And if you have your farm name with a website, if you have it, and a pretty picture, that's going to go a long way to getting people in the door. We do have people check in where you checked in today. Usually we have a pop tent up there just to keep our volunteers cool and in the shade, because it doesn't feel like it now, but in June it will be incredibly hot. In this area here where you're sitting right now is usually where we set up our chicken race. So we do offer a curated experience for our guests, I guess is the best way to put it, where our schedule will lead them through the farm. And we do that once in the morning and once in the afternoon on Saturday, and then we repeat the whole thing on Sunday. So if you were going to look up our schedule either in the handbooks that the Ag and Art Tour produces or on our website online, you would find race times for our chicken race. Immediately after that, Joe starts a guided farm tour, and that ends in the barnyard where everyone's set up for the market and artisans are ready to go with hands-on demos or whatever else they have planned for that day. Because people don't always hit the tour times exactly right, we also put up signs along our farm tour route for a self-guided farm tour. So we make sure that everyone has lots of information so they can know exactly what they're looking at out there. And then we flag the trail with tour tape so that nobody gets lost. It's really obvious to us because we live here where to go, but it turns out that if you've not been at our farm before, it's easy to be turned around. The other thing we do is we try to, like Will said, there's a lot of families that come through with kids. So we try to make sure, having had small children myself, that there is something for them to do along the way throughout the tour. Because if the kids are happy, the parents are less likely to be rushing through and getting them in the car and heading out. So we usually put out hula hoops. We have had bubbles in the past. We kind of stopped that with COVID, but we have some different games out for them out front here where they might be waiting for a guided tour to start. And then again in the barnyard area so that a parent can like look at animals with the kids or maybe play a game while their other parent or another adult gets a chance to shop. And again, thinking about what it is you need to get out of it. For us, we need to make our sales for that day and also to get people on our email list so they can become a regular customer so we can find them again. And to that point, we do QR codes with some nice signage on it about join our email list. And we have one at the sign-in table. And then again, before you leave the farm, there's one at the farm stand. And we use the QR codes in a few different places at markets and stuff. at the Ag and Art Tour is the only time I've ever seen people actually use them to sign up for our email list. So while they're standing around waiting to sign in or waiting to purchase from your farm stand, they're scanning that code and getting on your email list. So that really helps a lot.
I am the what is it called, coordinator for the farms, or the tour sites as we call them now. This is my 4th year recruiting farms and visiting farms and helping you in any way you need help. We'll make sure you have all your supplies you need for the farm day, pick them up afterwards, just all kinds of stuff that you may need. What I need from you, I made up a little flyer for you. It's nothing new, everything's really on the website, but I want you to remember March 1st. That's a very important deadline because we need you to sign up by then. I would ask that you sign up before then, because if you've not been a site before, I have to come and visit your farm and sit down and talk to you about what you have planned before we can tell Will that yes, you're a go. So the sooner you sign up, the sooner I can contact you and come visit your farm. So please look at that date. Also, it's a Saturday and Sunday, the 10th and the 11th. The hours are 10 to 4 on Saturday, 1 to 5 on Sunday. If you can't do one of those days, we'll talk about it and see about just putting you down for one day. That's okay. I think Lexington is only doing Saturday. We prefer you to do both days, but some people just can't do one day or the other. That's fine. I just think it's real important that that is in red in those little booklets people get, because I know last year people get very upset if they show up at a farm and you're not open, and we didn't tell them that you wouldn't be. So that's a real important to get that out. So this is the sheet. I'm not going to go through it. You all can read. It's also on the website. But I am your contact person. Please register. As soon as I see you've registered, I'll contact you and see when we can get together.
So the way I think about kind of the tour and kind of what people are interested in, it really has to do with a story, right? So there's a couple stories I tell during the tour. One of the stories, and I'm not going to bore you with each individual story, but one of the stories is about the history of this place. So the name Doko Farm, Doko is, help me out here, Amanda, Native American term for gathering place. Could mean also watering place as well.
There was a lot of different stories around the word Doko when we tried to research it, but the one that resonated with us for our farm was gathering place, so that's the one that we gravitate towards more.
Right. So by the time the tour kind of comes here, artisans are kind of on this part right here and over here on that part. So it's kind of like an alley. So when people come in, I kind of prime them. So when we're walking through the garden, it's like, if you're interested in our pork or chicken, we have a stand. Also, we have whoever is our vendors at the time, like Ken might have grits here, or like there might be someone selling pottery or stoneware, and just to prime them, to let them know when they get here, it's like, this is the type of stuff that's here, instead of like, what is all this stuff, right? And so this is kind of where we also have, I think, like kids games. I think we had cornhole and a couple other things. So there's some open spaces as well for people and their kids to run around. Yeah, so this is the barnyard area.
So we do.
You know, it's not agriculture per se. You know, we don't play in the dirt. You know, we're trying to keep the dirt out of the process. We're a food processing plant. So what we relied on was, you know, kind of the art side of things. So we had the music, and I was lucky to lean on Kevin to get a little sound system and to gather those people together. And so that was a bunch of people right there. And, you know, I'm speaking of this from the angle of somebody who's not directly oriented around growing crops or animals. But there's no reason, if you had a farm, you know, we've already talked about live music. I mean, why not if you can get that together? For us, it kind of paid off. You know, if I'd had volunteers, I probably could have sold more stuff. But we definitely exceeded my expectations. The first year, you know, I had a few people come through, wasn't really well prepared, sent my help home, did the first day. The second day, I think I wound up locking the door and taking a nap on a table, waiting for somebody to knock, just because we didn't do a good job at really, you know, compelling people to come see us. Also, I think maybe it was closer into the COVID pandemic, so perhaps people were not quite as comfortable at that point in time. But you know, rely on your networks and just provide something that people you know, want to see. And for us, it was music and the food, and hopefully we'll be able to pull that off again.